So I just finished up making the last of the nukes. That should use up pretty much all the cells we've built already. That is it. That is all the split I'm making. It's just unreal. I've used every single box that I got back at the honey house. Every pallet. I switched back to my old pallets, old shitty pallets. The split was just tremendous. We were able to skim so much surplus off these colonies. It just absolutely amazes me. I wish I could have seen this back last fall when I was freaking out whether or not my beehives are going to be living or not. And all these nukes here, I filled up, must be 175 of these nukes out of 1 yard. I dedicated 1 yard to building nukes. And if I would have known I would have had such a heavy split, I wouldn't have dedicated that yard to building nukes. I would have filled these nukes out of some of that surplus strength. But you know, sometimes you make a plan and you just got to stick to it and just see how things shake out. So now the split is all done. Tomorrow, according to the calendar, now we start checking for queen acceptance and their laying patterns. So this is the first yard we set cells into. The nukes are starting to get lost in the grass here. So I just want to check to see whether or not these guys are actually ready. We've had some really windy weather lately and some really hot weather. So it hasn't really been ideal mating conditions, but we'll see what these girls are up to, and we'll see. I'll just check to see if they start laying or not, and see if maybe we should just give them a little bit more time. So we had some rain yesterday. So I noticed the yards are pretty quiet today. Everybody's still sleeping, I guess. These fives are pretty tight. I got 5 frames in here just because I like to keep the frames tight, but I certainly like the 6s better because it gives you just a little bit more space to pull these frames out. These nukes were made up a couple weeks ago. Not much for nectar in there. Got some honey stored, but there's no fresh nectar in that frame. Might have to consider starting to feed again. Just passing the dandelion. Got some old brood on there. There she is. Beautiful queen. Her abdomen is all swollen. And she is laying. So she just started laying there. See how far along her nest is. So this frame is right full of eggs. And so is that side. Boy, she's sure gone. She's come online pretty quick here. This frame has a bit of weight to it, so it's got a little bit of honey in there and some pollen. That's good to see. A little bit of resource. I'll switch that to the other side. So she has just started laying. Or maybe rushing things just a little bit here. Take a look at another colony to see what's up. So it appears that one's a success. We'll see how that brood matures, but she's laid that frame right out. Go to the one beside here. I have a lot of my hives in pastures. We have a lot of pasture because we have a lot of cattle. And it's kind of nice having the cattle around because they clean up all the grass for you and you don't have all this tall growth around. Lots of young bees walking around. There's some eggs. I just do a visual on her just to do a health check. I don't really have to find her. If I could just find, there she is. Beautiful little queen. That's my girl. Great big abdomen on her. Got this side frame. She's got this side of the frame laid right out. So we might be rushing just a little bit. They've just, the rest of them are like these two, just started laying. It's always easier to queen check when they have, you know, some kind of development within that nest. So when you look, you can kind of see the shine of the brood. You can also kind of tell, you know, if that brood's any good. Just looking at eggs doesn't really do you any good. Just kind of tells you that she's laying. You want to know what kind of laying it is. Man, that was a pretty tough split. We didn't let up at all through the entire, we've been splitting hives for what, it's been 2.5 weeks. I've been working myself to pure exhaustion pretty much every day to get this job done. This is probably the most stressful period for me anyways. Just taking the split, managing the work, getting it all done before these girls swarmed off, setting these hives up for the flow. Because this is the time that counts. This is the time that this is when you prepare your honey crop. This is building your honey crop. Your honey crop is dictated precisely exactly the way you set these colonies up. Set them up too big, they'll swarm off, you got nothing. Set them up too small, by the time they mature, the flow is past. So you got to be watching what's going on out there. You got to be watching what's going on in here, and you got to find out where do you want these hives to peak. Whereabouts on that calendar. You got to try to get these hives to peak exactly when all that summer flower peaks. So we'll see if I'm right. So I'm just looking down into these nests, and I don't have my smoker with me right now, so I won't go too far down into them. But what I'm looking for is basically, I want the hive to be down here, moving up into this top box. I don't want them to have an established top box yet. So what I want to see is I want to see bees up here, I want to see resources. I don't want to see a plugged out box. I don't want to see frames of brood. I just want to see the queen just starting to come up. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here. So you have little bits of nectar thrown around in here. Looks like the queen's moved up here just a bit. She's got some eggs there. Same here. Got some nectar stored in there. You know, so they're just starting to expand their nest upwards. That's kind of what I want to see. This nest too, there's bees pretty much in every frame here, which is kind of nice and scattered around. There isn't a whole lot of, you know, you can tell when a box is starting to really get filled out at the top here because they start building out the frames. I'm not seeing any of that yet, and that is good. They're just starting to work up here, storing some nectar. So I don't see the queen up here yet. I've been spot checking through, and this is basically what I'm finding. I'm finding pretty even split. That means I did my job properly. A few yards I'm going through and I'm finding, you know, top box, you know, getting pretty full of honey. And I'm looking down and there's cat brood up there, like sheets of cat brood. So those hives are probably a little big on me. So this week I'm going to go around to all the bee yards and just kind of crack all the lids and just to see what's going on down there. And anything that's too big, I'm going to, you know, skim off some of that surplus brood, and anything that hasn't had any activity in the top box yet, I'll probably just give them a boost by dropping a frame of brood or some honey up on top. So it shouldn't take too much time. I should be able to get through the yards pretty quick. I'm going to send the rest of the crew out to do some yard keeping. We haven't sent the mowers out yet, so we got to mow all the grass, got to tidy things up a little bit. We got a lot of honey house work we got to do. The place is just a disaster with boxes everywhere. It's just, you know, as we've been in the mass scramble to repair old equipment, to send it out to pull the split on, and it's just wrecked equipment everywhere. So we got to get through and clean things up, tidy things up, bring order back into the whole operation, and you know, just kind of relax a little bit. So it sure feels good to be done.